Have you ever felt trapped in a life and in a job that you just didn't imagine that that's where you would wind up? Have you ever felt that you just existed in your own life and that you weren't actually participating and that you actually weren't growing? Every day was just trying to make it through that one day. And the anxiety that builds when you're living that way makes it feel unbearable to just go to work or to function or to do anything. That's what was happening in my life. And that's when I decided that I needed to be brave enough to change and brave enough to quit. Hey guys, so my name is Scott. I had worked in the student housing industry for about 13 years, and in my current role, I'm in a fully off-campus property that's just an apartment complex, but honestly really caters towards students because they lease by the bedroom, so it's kind of like reserving a dorm room. I've been living with generalized anxiety and depression. This has been a part of my life since I was a teenager. I've been taking medicine to help mitigate some of the effects of it since I was about 2012 when I was in my late 20s. I've had to deal with a lot of stressful times in any of my positions in work. None of them really compared to the last few months. This blog is really supposed to be a form of therapy for myself because talking about it and writing things down really helps me to process what just happened. Process that I just left my job and I don't have a plan for a new job, and how I'm hoping that I can be brave enough to make it through this time of my life, but also brave enough to just counteract some of the things that are happening, things that have been happening in my life for a long time. And as those come up, making another blog post about it to share it with you, really so I can process that for myself and really challenge the things that are based in fear in my life so that I can move forward and really begin to be a healthier, happier person. I want to also acknowledge that during this crazy 2020 year when COVID is everywhere and it's impacted people's jobs in significant ways, and some people have been terminated, businesses have been closing, people have been laid off, and people have been having to downsize their work. I fully acknowledge that in quitting my job during this time, my actions to put myself in a healthier place are ultimately my decision and made without having to consult the job on whether I was going to do it or not, and I didn't lose my job because of the decision of someone else to terminate me or anything like that. As I've mentioned before, I've lived with anxiety and depression as a part of my life for a very long time. Every day I know that those things are there. Every day I experience the side effects or the main effects of depression and anxiety in ways that can be really profound and have a significant impact on my ability to function on a day-to-day basis. They have impacts on my relationships with my friends, with my boyfriend, on my work life, on being able to just get out of bed. And I honestly do, like I mentioned before, take medicine to help me negate some of those really significant consequences, but ultimately, you can't just get rid of those things altogether. They're rooted in deeper things, and really, you get through it by talking about it, whether it's a therapist or a friend or a significant other, really being able to process those things that are the root causes of your depression and anxiety. And because even though you take that medicine, sometimes you still do feel sad. You still have panic attacks. You still have those days where you just cannot get out of bed. And the thought of functioning like a normal human being is so overwhelming to you that you just cannot do it. Really, as I'm trying to create this first blog post, I'm trying to do it in a way that doesn't necessarily burn bridges. That's not what I'm about right now. Honestly, this whole decision to leave my job was about improving my own mental health and honestly being in a position where I just could not functionally imagine going to work another day because the anxiety was so strong and profound that it felt painful. Like I felt it in my chest. The tightness and panic and the worry, and I just couldn't function like that anymore. I had been doing it every single day for a long time, and I just couldn't do it anymore. Honestly, I want to do my best. I honestly love my job working with students, and I love my job, helping people find their new home. It's hard to not internalize something that is externally happening in the whole world when you have anxiety and generalized anxiety, because ultimately your mind always goes to what is the worst case scenario, what is the worst possible thing, and everything always feels like it's your fault. My anxiety was so profound that I wasn't able to really be able to functionally manage what was going on, and then be able to also, have a positive relationship with my boyfriend, to have a positive relationship with my friends, especially when we're so distanced right now. I also felt, honestly, like I wasn't necessarily getting support from our corporate staff in dealing with being down some staff members, getting ready for turn. And so that anxiety was coming in on me too, because I felt like everybody had something they wanted me to do. Everybody's thing was a priority and needed to be done right now, and I didn't have time to do it all. And so I felt just completely and totally stressed the entire time, because I didn't know what to do if I couldn't get everything everybody wanted done. I was feeling trapped. I felt kind of like I was being taken advantage of in my role. I was just tired from working super long days of work. I wasn't eating well, I wasn't exercising well, and I had constant daydreams of escaping, but I would win the lottery and I would have all this money and I'd be able to go do whatever I want. I could buy all these houses all over the world. I could go travel. I could go see all the things that I really wanted to see. But only then, once that happened, once I won the lottery, later, when something else happened. It took me a long time, every single day, to just pump myself up. I had to get myself jazzed up and be like, okay, I have to overcome this terrible feeling of dread that's painful and creating tension in my chest, in order to get myself out the door and get to my office every day and try to get done what I could do. In this whole coronavirus situation, which I actually had in early March, right when everything in California shut down, since that time, you'd think that, especially the time when I was working from home, I'd have more time to work out, I might get in better shape. I gained 20 pounds because honestly, everything was just building in my anxiety, and I was so stressed out that I couldn't find the energy to go out and just go for a run or to do a workout video online. And so it became another point of anxiety, and wherein I can't really look at myself in the mirror and like what I'm seeing, because so often than not, I've gone up and down in my weight for a long time. It's not abnormal for me to be a little bit heavier right now, but normally I like to feel healthier and feel confident in my clothes and feel like things are fitting. I don't right now. That's why I'm wearing a sweatshirt. Sometimes over a 4 to 5 day time span, I would get maybe 6 or 8 hours of sleep, so I wasn't really sleeping very much. Oftentimes I would wake up in the middle of the night having an anxiety attack about my to-do list, and I would start writing things down, hoping that would calm things down, but oftentimes it didn't. So I'd watch YouTube, or I would try to find other things to occupy my time. Sometimes I would read books, play video games. I played a lot of Animal Crossing just to kind of escape and give my mind something else, but I couldn't escape it. Almost every single night I was waking up not knowing how to get myself to fall back asleep and to calm down. One morning before I went to work, I had called my boyfriend and we were talking about our days that we had ahead, and I was just already having a panic attack about mine. I talked to him about how I felt that maybe once term was over, I was gonna quit my job, even though I didn't necessarily have a plan, but that it was not necessarily healthy for me to keep continuing to do what I've been doing for so long, and I just needed to do something else, to be brave enough to do something else, to find a different job in the same field, a different path. I just needed an escape from it. And then I just thought, I cannot do this anymore. I can't keep feeling this way all the time. I looked through a lot of the things that, I would need to think about if I was gonna leave my job. Did I have enough money? How long did I have money to last me for? What was I gonna do in the meantime? Like, those were all the things. It was solely focused on what I was gonna do in order to get out of this job now. I had dinner with my boyfriend that night, and we were hanging out, and I honestly was just talking to him about everything and how I just needed to get out of the circumstance that I was in, and I couldn't fathom going to work another day. I couldn't do it. It was like painful to think about continuing. I am so incredibly fortunate to have someone in my life who loves me and supports me the way that he does, and supported my decision that I was gonna quit my job tomorrow, and supportive of me finding passion and putting myself in a better state of mind so that I could be better all around. I knew I wanted to leave on good terms. I think that's always should be your ideal when you're leaving a job, even though I was quitting without giving notice, which I understand is not a great thing to do, but functionally it's what I had to do. I gave my boss a heads up in the morning when I was on my way to work, and I just sent him this long text, and I was like, hey, I can't do this anymore. And I would love to be able to still use you as a reference in the future, but I totally understand if that's not possible given the circumstance, but I am ultimately going to be resigning my position effective today. I told him I was on my way to work, I'm gonna switch things over, I'll send you emails, feel free to call me if there's any questions or things or passwords to things, or you can't figure out how to get into something. I'm happy to help out in whatever way I can. So much weight had fallen off my shoulders, and while I was still worried about what I'm going to do, the weight from where I was at, just a lot of it just melted, and it felt so good. Now I'm just trying to figure out what's gonna happen next. Honestly, I'm starting this blog, but like I said, this is more therapy for myself, to give myself a creative outlet, to get myself occupied and busy and functionally working similar to like a regular work day by creating content. And I'm trying to keep my eyes open. Part of me thinks maybe I'll go back to working on campus in student housing, but I'm open to other types of apartment management positions as well, reaching out to various people that I know in various fields as far as looking for new jobs, trying to keep my options open for what to do in the meantime, because I have to have some money. I have enough to get me through for a little while, but I have to be able to keep myself and keep supporting myself while I'm applying for positions for like a permanent role. I'm also applying to do things like deliver for Postmates and Grubhub and drive for Lyft, which I've done before, but doing it again would be helpful. I also just want to find time in this blog and processing through this blog to really identify things that are rooted in fear in my life, challenge those things, and then process them here through writing to really develop life change in myself. I want this time to be productive, not just laying around the house and being lazy and watching YouTube and Disney Plus all the time. Honestly, this is a whole new adventure for me. I hope that this blog might be helpful to some of you who are maybe feeling the same way, whether it's about quitting your job, or even if it's just the part about being brave enough to challenge the things in your life that are rooted in fear, and counteracting those things so that you can live a more and better and fuller life than maybe what you had been.